to you. Our topic, welcome to our Sunday conversation. And we're going to dive back into a teaching of conditionality, but we're going to look at it from how we're coping with our lives, with the world, with others, with coping with things.
With, of course, the underlying premise, just to be transparent, that knowing conditionality, knowing it deeply, as you like the metaphor, knowing it in your bones, really helps us cope with the difficult and the joyful things in life, actually. It helps us deal with life, cope with life.
Right, we came up with two analogies this morning. Knowing conditionality in our bones gives us strength, and Nelly's is knowing it through the lens of conditionality, that you actually have a different view, like a cataract surgery.
Yeah, you get a new lens.
A
But
new
it's not
lens.
really like cataract surgery because, cataract surgery, some of you probably know, it's, happens quickly. You have surgery, they take out your old lens and put in a new one. It's not like that. It's much more, we'll go back to the bones metaphor. It's much more like strength training.
Strength training.
You got to do it and you got to keep doing it. Because if you stop doing it, you're going to backtrack. And I'd say that about conditionality. You've got to keep seeing it, knowing it, being with other people who know it, or you'll revert back to the more usual way of seeing life.
It really is one of the simpler teachings, though. That's interesting that it just takes so long and so many reminders to learn that our experience isn't isolated out into this or that, that there's so much more to our experience. And if we just start talking about our meditative experience, we'll see that there's something else that always comes along with the upset or with the way we knew something. And that we're really training ourselves in this practice by asking each other what happened after we meditated to talk more about conditionality. Though if you're newer to our approach and to reflective meditation, you might not even understand you're learning a depth teaching.
Right, right. And also, you might not, this is a large part, not all of it, but a large part of why we say allow things to just kind of go on more sort of as they usually do in your meditation, and don't sort of apply the strong condition of trying to steer it and get it to the focus object, but really allow the multitude of things to arise. And in that multitude, you start to see conditionality, especially when you speak up and we have a conversation with you about your meditation, or when you listen in and you hear that conversation about other people's meditation.
Right. And I think there's a place where it becomes most apparent is when we're in relationships that people don't know conditionality or aren't interested in it. And it seems to become a tension between the way we understand our experience from this different angle of really wanting to know more about it, being curious about what else could be fostering the constellation of experience of circumstances that's coming together. And another person is very certain or has a different view or a different, let's say, motto from which they live by.
Right. And you can't just point out conditionality to other people and expect that they're going to have immediate cataract surgery and their lens will have just changed because you pointed it out. It doesn't work that way. It's a long process of, again, a training. It's not an instant. And so we just have to live in that we are seeing the world differently from people who we're close to.
Yeah, yeah. I think that part of that development of the way understanding conditionality happens and really does become integrated and part of your bones
Mhm.
is that within those times, there's not such a strong desire to teach the other person something or to rearrange the world to really um, understand conditionality the way you do. There's more of an acceptance of different dharmas. I've been talking about this a little bit in um, being on a cruise ship with a lot of different dharmas, and how that's really up against, not being able to change other people, but also accepting that that's the direction that they've gone and that there is some development and strength within other views.
Mhm, mhm. Right. This is not the only way to see the world in a broader or kinder way, because it does really lead to a lot more kindness too. But it's not the only way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I really liked, Linda, when you said that that when you know it, conditionality in your bones, which is an interesting, kind of terminology, um, that you feel stronger, gives you strength. I was curious about if you could say more.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's almost like what kind of strength am I talking about? Because I'm not really stronger at the gym per se. I don't have a kind of, let's say, physical strength necessarily that comes from it. But there does seem to be more of an inward drawing. Like it's almost like that collectedness we talk about with a samadhi or with an altered state, that somehow that direction goes back in um, to myself, and there's less scatteredness or less needing to change things. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. But there's a sense of whatever I'm dealing with, I can deal with it. We're back to coping. I can cope with it better.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's a strength to be able to cope in the world that we live in today with
Right.
the very strong message to pick a side. And rather than picking a side, trying to fill in more sides and understand that there's a variety of sides to anything, any circumstance we find ourselves in.
And I don't think this works. And people think early on in reflective meditation that if you can just list out the conditions, or maybe even know all or most of them, then that's the path. And it's not really it. It is more about seeing it that way, not in about, getting enough, enough or most of the conditions. It's about integrating it. It's different than just a concept.
Right, right. Though it might start, right, with a concept at first. It might start with, oh, that's what you mean by a condition. Oh, I'm not just angry here, I'm also hurt and sad. So those are three conditions that I can't just say I'm angry anymore because I know there's more conditions to it. But then how does that become part of the way we interact and the way we don't blame others and the way we don't blame ourselves for things?
Yeah, and I think the missing ingredient in that recipe is just time over and exposure to others, knowing, seeing the world this way. And that's why it's great that we've been keeping up this daily online seemingly forever. Now, that's not
Yes.
the truth. That's just a subjective sense at the moment.
All right.
But
And
being with
some days feel, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
being with others like this, listening to the conversation, sticking around for the last 10 minutes, even if you don't have any inclination to speak up, listening to that
Yeah.
kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
might not always look like we're talking about conditionality.
Yeah. I think that's really important is that listening, even though you're not sure what you're listening to yet. There is a way that kind of works within the spiritual friendship model, that it does work and you start to grasp it a bit.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe we can
Okay,
put there.
great. So welcome everybody. Anyone that's relatively new or newish to us, we're really happy to have you here.